Hey everybody, hopefully my computer is behaving itself. I'm not sure that it is. We shall see. Possibly, it looks like it might be. So, early this afternoon we embarked on the beginning of the actual net curtain. We have our bobbins, well not all of them wound, but we've got a fair few. We've stonked our way down, to be honest. We've got over a third of our bobbins already in use. We have enough bobbins to do the next section and the bit to the left, so we should be good for tonight. I will try and do some more bobbin winding during tomorrow, see if we can't then have a bit more of a stream tomorrow. So we're doing pretty well, but I think it is time to do just a bit more to see this evening out, because, well, it would be a waste if we didn't. So let's get going. So this is as far as we got. Not entirely obvious because it's partly covered, but we've done, let me zoom in proper and good. So we have done the groundwork in this top triangular section, the cloth stitch, and some of the rose ground further down. So we're not doing too bad. We really aren't. Let me just kind of angle the camera a bit more and try and make it a bit straighter. There we go. So we're doing pretty well, to be honest. We really are. These bobbins are not driving us mad. We're getting a bit of speed up because, well, we're getting a bit of speed up because, well, it's not annoying us, and well, this is a bit more of the speed of choice. So time for a bit more, I think. Because after all, we've only got 2 more rows of rose ground before, well, we have to move on. So, as I say, I do have a few more bobbins wound than this. I did wind a couple immediately after tea. Because, well, I wanted to have as many as I could. So we can't move you around a bit more. Problem is we're running out of room, and we've already got 1 layer of bobbins, but never mind. We can always have another layer. And that's the whole point. We should have taken another painkiller from your back, really. Never mind. This probably won't be the longest stream, but I just wanted to do as much as I could today, because obviously it is the weekend, and the most time that I can have is my own. My brain farted briefly there thinking, is that actually what I was supposed to be doing? Brain farts are a commonplace after all. What's that you done for? That last row of rose ground. As you can tell, this is definitely going considerably faster, and this is not a bad thing. As long as we're not making a lot of mistakes, it is not a bad thing. And moreover, the pattern is much more visible on screen. I can see that. May not be as focused as perhaps you'd like. I find that the focus is very hard to get right with this camera. It's about as good as it gets. But as we can see from that, I mean, obviously I've only unpinned this top section, but you know, it's all looking pretty neat and tidy. This is a good thing. The angle of the pins can make it a bit misleading, so here you can see like black dots where the top of the pins are, but this one's shiny, so it doesn't, if I move it slightly you can see that there is the black dot. So it's it is misleading, but so why don't I use pins like those? Because they're too big. Is the short answer. Because they are too big. The heads are too big. We need to be able to potentially put them closer together than that. So that kind of rules them out. Depending on the weight of threads that you're using, of course, you can get away with using those because you have significant distance between the two between, you know, two pins, you can get away then with having it's a bent pin now. Whatever. You can get away with that, but sadly, not with this thread. And this, of course, is wider set than the first square I did, because the thread and thinner threads. So, because the first one was definitely far too close together, it bunched up far too much. Whereas this is absolutely spot on for what I wanted. So, this is a good thing. Let's see if I can move some of these around. I've got to be careful because I don't want them to end up mixed up with the ones that I don't need to be doing. So, I just need to be able to tell the ones I'm working with apart, really, don't I? Here we are, near the end of the first block of rose ground. Seems weird, really, when you consider how long the first one seemed to take us. We seem to be storming along this one. So let's take you two out. Plonk you over there. I've got more room out the back. So yes, had a great chat with Nautical earlier about their rope twiddlings. I'm not sure what it is a form of macrame, I suppose, but it almost seems degrading because many of us associate macrame with the nastiness of the 1970s and making pot plant holders. So macrame does seem the wrong word for it, but beautiful mats and beautiful work. So definitely going to look more into that. But for now, I have plenty of hobby and things of my own to do without potentially wanting to get sucked into something else. Although, someone else the other day was showing me some things. No worries, Nautical. Someone else was showing me the other day. It's a form of Japanese kimono type, not kimonos, but kihimono. That their thing where they cross threads, right? It's got too many vowels and it's not British, and I struggle enough with British words. So, basically, instead of using like a disc or working around a tube, why is this feels? No, I'm just expecting wrong. You can buy a loom, and the loom, where did that pin go? There it is. Going out, please, thank you. With the loom, you do it on a, well, frankly, an industrial scale. So instead of having, say, I don't know, 10 threads round the edge of a disc, and you cross them over to make like a French braid, those little 4-pin dull things that, you know, nearly everyone had as a kid. Instead of doing something along those lines, you have hundreds. And it works a bit like the rope twisting, in that you pick some up, you move one over here, and it's not necessarily to the bottom, and it's also a little bit like this definitely doesn't feel right. That's because it's not right. Well, at least I spotted it before it was too late. Let's undo you for a minute, because you might be before your time, although that's possible. See, something's gone on here, but I've not done the right thing. I didn't pin it. So I'm going to revert to the start, because clearly I'm an idiot. And that should be four of those. Let's have a look. You need to come out there. You seem to have come a really long way around. Unfortunately, like a lot of things, as we've already proved, the more you think about some of this, the more wrong it looks. So when in doubt, revert. So you go back to a point, you go back to a point. So you are good, but you're in the wrong pinhole. That's one. You go there, which makes you right round that pinhole. You then form on the bottom pinhole, and then we do the full stitch on this one, and the full stitch on this one, and you sod off, because we've done with you. You're now good. You are the next ones. So you start. But yeah, this loom thing, it's very similar to, it's kind of a cross between a poncho loom, a warping frame, and a kind of torture device, in that you start off in the middle with a load of threads. You then evenly distribute these threads down, let's call them notches, or pegs, or whatever, because some were pegs, some were notches, down the side. And then you, bit like the rope twisting, you pick up one and you move it over there, and then you pick up another one and you move it over there. Now, the whole point this loom is so magically wonderful for it is that, let's say you were just braiding and you had 30 strands a side. I know it sounds excessive, but bear with it, because of course, again, they're dealing with tinier threads than rope, right? Well, once you've been taking from the top and putting at the bottom, well, you'd run out of slots, and now you've got 30 things to shuffle up, right? Wrong. Well, now you've got an empty block of empty slot stroke pegs at the top. You pick it up and you slide it in at the bottom, and they're already done. So it's quite a clever contraption, to be honest. In fact, it truly is arguably a very... that's not right. Oi! Don't be shouting and swearing in my ear, dog. That's right. And so, as a result, it's quite clever. It's a simple but clever contraption, as a lot of tools can be. And so, much like your rope twisting, yes, you can, I know, do the equivalent of a normal 3-strand braid, right? But that's kind of boring. Everyone's seen that. Well, the same's true with this kind of fancy kimono thing, and there is a website with it, and I helped to find the website with it, and the looming question's nearly £1,000. Bear in mind, it's kind of a rectangle with a clamp on one side and some pokey bits that can lift off. Oh, Rory! Did you woof at it? Rory doesn't normally make any noise, so for Rory to woof it, that's quite impressive. Did you woof at it? Did you? He's going, yeah, so? Whereas, of course, you're singing about it. Why are you singing about it? Miss? Go on. So, yes, it's a very interesting device, and part of me was going, oh, I really would love to have a go of that. And it's like, no, I've got hobbies. I've really got hobbies. I really do not need to be, getting more hobbies and more stuff. Because, well, I kind of got a lot of stuff. I am not short on stuff. I'm short on places to put the stuff, but I'm not short on stuff. So... It was kind of amusing, because I really want one now. And because I've done some... I did inkle weaving and tablet weaving to make, let's call them bands. And in fact, I was thinking of doing a bit more to use as bobbin holders, or to pin bobbins down in sections, rather than just use cloths all the time, have a bit of a mixture of the two. So pin them down with some pins and a bit of band to hold it still, and then underneath, then slap a cloth over the top just for good measure, just to keep it out of sight, and I can stack easily on top without getting confused visually. So yeah, I don't know. As I said earlier though, quite often there are similarities between many hobbies if you look at it through the right eyes. So, for example, obviously, if you think of how the kimono, I can't pronounce it, so I'm going to call it kimono, just bear with me. So this fancy kimono stuff, it's no different to lace making. Pick up a thread and move it. Pick up a thread and move it. We've just got bobbins on the end. Maybe they don't. Well, actually they do. They have little weights on the ears, so they're really not that different. They just have slots to put things in, and we don't. They don't pin stuff. We do. But realistically, it's not that different. Come on. So we finished our rose grant. The question lies, what do we do next? Now, in the interests of not overwhelming ourselves with too many bobbins, I think what the plan should be is filling up the left-hand side a bit with what we can do now. So, I'm going to get a cloth. No, I have not dealt with the bobbins. So what did I do with the bobbins? Oh, I put them in the box in a fit of rage, didn't I? That's why I did the bobbins. So we'll cover them up, and we shall move these distinctly round, because we won't be needing these for a while, because we will need to do the cloth stitch bit. And this corner, of course, is where we question and re-question and question our sanity as to whether we have the right number of bobbins at the corner, because the answer will always be, it depends on how you're thinking about it. But these bobbins can all get stuck on a pin and need to come round and sit over here as bobbins in waiting. You are the early bobbins to go. And then we need to uncover some of these bobbins, because these are the real bobbins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, 5, 6. I knew that. I knew my brain was counting. So let's see if we can shuffle you up even more to get you a bit more out the way. You crossed some. Terrible. Right, that gets you a bit more out the way. So let's make you a bit longer because you feel short. Considering that obviously we're not even like, well, really a third of the way through the first triangle, it always feels like you're lengthening the bobbins a lot, but you've got to remember that realistically you're not actually, even, you know, each one of these is going down like an inch. It's not actually moving that much, you know. It's not like we're letting out half meters at a time here, so it just seems a lot when you feel like you're constantly adjusting your bobbins. So it is a little bit of a, ooh, I know what I was going to do. I need to screen grab that for a sec, and I want to send that to a friend. Bear with me one moment. Do. So I was helping a friend. They've done far more streaming than me, but something I managed to kind of mostly get working. We were having a chat about. They're doing not quite this kind of craft work, but they're doing a different type of craft work, which is they are renovating a car. So they're in their garage and they've got a pair of earphones in, but of course it means they can't see chat because, well, you know, they've got their head up the exhaust pipe. So they wanted something that could read their chat to them. And I'd got kind of a bot that would say things. But obviously it is a limited thing, right? Mine works on command. But because it's on command, it can see that there are chat messages because it picks them up out of chat messages. And so, as long as we were trying to work out how to make it work for 2 pins, I thought that felt a bit healthy. We would see if we could make it work for every chat message, and we did manage that. And one of the other things was that I found yesterday, an option to show when Twitch says the ad's coming, rather than necessarily having a bot thing that goes, "Gaping, ads have started." Now, the gaping ads have started is still a good thing, because if I'm staring at my lace pillow here, I might miss it. And I can tell you, ads in 35 seconds. So it will go ping, and then it will go ping when it's done. But this bit also will tell you, so it's kind of useful both ways if you're looking and if you're not. Ping. roll back into it. I don't want you. I'm done with you. Definitely should have had painkillers for the backache. End of ads. What a glorious thing. Idiots. You two are also out of play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one thing that almost certainly will happen is that this worker pair that does the outside cloth stitch will not have sufficient thread on it to go all the way around. Arguably, this is a mistake I have already made, in that I have laden the bobbins with what I believe to be enough and sufficiently more just in case. Except, now I'm obviously doing them all the same length, so these small ones in the middle have a considerable amount of waste, these ones a lot less, but they hopefully will still have waste. But this pair, because it goes backwards and forwards so much, it does get through a hell of a lot more. And I did not load it like 3 times as much, so chances are it will run out before the end. But with any luck, we will not run out on a corner, although that would be ideal, but we can always add some more. Adding more bobbins is not so hard. It's the taking of bobbins away that I don't do well with. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a good thing. And I've got a feeling, yes, you should be up there by now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how my brain was getting so confused on why we did the chart. Is because you can't really discard them before when you want to. You have to discard them when you need to. And so as a result, they're part of the journey to the right, and then you need to discard them. So they're not there for the way back, but if you forget to discard them when you're completely the other side doing, your own thing, it is easy to end up with not having discarded the bobbins that you need to discard. So hence we're counting, because we obviously do want to do this right. Because clearly, I'm going to be looking at this forevermore. I don't want to be looking at it going, I'm really screwed that up. I want to look at it and go, I did a good job with that. So, we could be stealing pins from the back again. We're in a point where we could be stealing more pins, but we won't for now. Just because we won't for now. Oh, pin. This is why pins get bent. Because they're so hard to put in at the right angle that you can put a tiny bit of tension. Because you can't really see. So if I zoom in on it, might show. Yeah, you can see that this pin, even though it's reasonably well in, it's just moving like mad. It's like this one's extra thingy. A bit more then. That's a bit better. Because while I'm not putting a lot of weight on it to put tension behind it, you need to go away. And we've already confused ourselves somewhat. So, 2, 3, 4. So, yeah. See, the other way to do it is work it and discard it, and then it's out the way and you can forget about it, which is probably the wiser choice. So yes, I don't know. It's really hard to put tension on when the pins move so much. There we go. Quick look. It does make it look wrong. Because it makes it look like there's this back here, not this last pin but the one before, there looks like there's this huge hole, and there actually isn't. Where's my pokey stick? This is my extra special pokey stick. This is the one you prick the holes with. It's got a bit more oomph to it. That looks a bit better. I think straighten them out a bit. Scrap you, twist you, put you at the end. Lengthen you out a bit. Pinged pins everywhere. Just stop with the pins. They just bend so much, which means getting the threads to lie in the right place is really hard, because you can't put, even stroking, which is all I'm doing, makes the pins really bend. Which is far from ideal. There's a hole around here somewhere. There it is. See, again, that looks like such a big hole in it. And yet I know there is. It is not wrong, and that there is no hole. It's just that they gather this side because that's where I'm working. If I was to be working more in this direction, it would probably be a bit straighter, but that's not kind of how it works. So frustrating, because it makes you feel like you've done it wrong. And this is it. This is exactly why. If you look at the action and where all the threads are now, I zoom in again, you'll see all the threads are bunched up right next to this left-hand one, and there's a gap before the new pair that comes in, and obviously the pin will stop them joining. But it does mean that that's where the threads naturally lie, and it produces this kind of hole next to the pin that makes it look like you got it wrong. But technically you haven't. It's just that you can't easily seem to make these other threads move across like this a bit, but even then they still look like there's a big hole, so it's not an easy answer to that one. Where's my pusher stick? Also helps to push this down as well. Keep it flat against the paper. Bin! Little bin! By the way, I did have pizza for tea. So did the dogs. Here's a thought for you. As a dog owner, I pay for a house. In fact, I have no mortgage, so it's definitely my house. I pay for the things that are in my house. I owe no money on them. They are all mine. I buy off Amazon stuff which I feel I need. Most of it I probably don't, but that's so not the point. I bought the dogs. I paid money for them. And if I had not paid money for them, I would not have got said dogs. So, I own the dogs. I own the house. And I own the things that come within it. So, I have, she's not looking, in my pocket, a dog ball. He lives in my pocket because we cause havoc with it otherwise. So it has to be, it's closely guarded is the short answer. It hides in my pocket. She does know it's in my pocket. She worked it out. She's not stupid because she's clever. But at the same time, she's as thick as a pile of rocks. So, picking on said ball, she is one of the few dogs I have ever lived with, whether I owned them or they were my parents' or other people's, where she enjoys a good game of fetch. And you fling the ball down the garden, down the park, wherever you are, fling the ball. She will chase it, she will get it, she will bring it back, she will give you it. Most dogs, it's no take, only throw. But I can't throw unless I've got it. No take, only throw. And so the dog wants you to throw the ball because it enjoys the chase, but it doesn't want to let go of the ball because it's its ball. It's my ball. When it comes to food, most dogs are highly guarded over their dinner. My dogs, have never been guarded over their dinner with me. A couple of my dogs were very guarded over their dinner with my ex-husband. One of them exceptionally so. Me, I could put my hand in the dish and take all the food I wanted. He couldn't come anywhere near it. But that was because I didn't tease him with it. I don't mean it to sound quite as bad as it sounds, but I made sure that I could take anything off my dogs. And I made sure that there was a differentiation between game, I'm taking your stuff, and I'm going to play with you, and part of it is me taking it. So I'm going to I want to take your ball. I want to fight with you for your ball. Or I need that. I need you to stop with that. I need you to give me that. And the simple answer was play, requirement. And it seems so different. It seems such a small thing. But all of my dogs have understood. If I come up, palm up, I may not want to do it, but they've got to part with what they've got. If I'm playing, palm down, they can kind of do what they like. It's a free-for-all and, you can fight me on it. So it kind of works out very well in that sense, because it means that if for whatever reason I need to take something out of that dog bowl, so something's in it that shouldn't be, or, like I've spotted a bit of bone or something that could hurt them, or that's poisonous, or any of those kind of things, I can fish it out and it'll be fine. But it also means I can have great games with the, can I have that? Is that mine? Can I have it? But here's the thing. When a dog eats its dinner, it doesn't really want you in its dinner, because, it's its dinner, it's busy, it's eating. When it's your dinner, it's, why aren't you sharing? It is very much, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, when you're a dog. And don't get me wrong, as I say, I do love my dogs, but it is one of those kind of, you look at me funny if I'm standing there and you're going for a pee. You look kind of offended that I might be watching, but I can't go for a pee on my own. You get really irate if you can't see me while I'm going to the toilet. I mean, no offence, I'm old enough, I've been doing it a while. I am quite capable of this act, I do not need assistance. Apparently I do. So you can see what I was saying about the problem with the bulkier bobbins, because obviously all of these bobbins here on the left hand side, they're currently done. I don't need those anymore, but they're very much present. And I need 2 more. You're wrapped around a pin. Out you come. And you're already crossed. Excellent. But while I was eating the pizza, it's kind of like, you're not eating all of that, are you? Surely some of that is mine. No, this is my dinner. Actually, they got the big crust, but no, this is my dinner. But where's mine? Well, you don't share yours with me. I mean, quite live, you really don't want me to have any of yours, so why should I share mine with you? It's mine. We do have these kinds of conversations. It is good for the soul. I do strongly believe that, to a large amount, I won't say animals think like us and they're not human, but they do have many similar thoughts. There was a heart-wrenching video on YouTube. Woman woke up, and a year or so ago, she'd lost her husband. He'd died. And they had this humongous, great fluffy dog. Beautiful thing. I like big fluffy dogs. I like big dogs. I don't necessarily want to be smothered in bed by one, but I would happily have big dogs. I did have a big dog for a while, but unfortunately it turned out he was deaf and he wasn't settling in. So I did the right thing for him, not the right thing for me, and gave him back. But it wasn't the size of the dog that was the problem. It was the fact that he couldn't hear, and so he found socialising very difficult. And because I did not know I was getting an entirely deaf dog, even though they swore that all medical things were written on the form, and yet when I challenged it, they went, "Oh yeah, we knew that. Yeah, well, you never told anyone else that." So they accepted it, and in fact paid for the medical bills, because when I got him, he had chronic ear infection, which could have deafened him. By itself, it was that chronic. It was terrible. It was almost bleeding constantly. It was, and it smelled really bad. So he was very unfortunate, but he was very beautiful. But this beautiful dog, she woke up to the horrendous noise this dog was making, and she went to find out what the problem was. The dog was sitting on the floor, looking at family pictures of the deceased husband and the dog and potentially her, and howling like its heart was breaking. Tell me now that the dogs do not understand that someone has died, that they miss them, that they live in the now, because he'd been gone a year, you know. They must remember, and they may not understand photographs, because just like dogs are freaked out by statues, I can understand that they don't understand that that is a photograph, but they could see the pictures of someone they cared for with them, which probably is very freaky, and they were, you know, he was howling his little heart out. I say little, it's probably bigger than mine, but it, you know, it was such a heartbreaking thing to see, because clearly there was so much love. I mean, dogs do love with huge hearts. The person holding the food. Let's be accurate here. You know, they may love you, and in a fair fight you might win, but the truth is, the man we love most is the man with the food, right here, right now. It's a bit like the small child with, the busted knee. Oh, a lollipop, I'm fine now. Your knee's still missing? Yep, I got a lollipop. It's fine. Dogs are a little like that. It's kind of like, oh, look, food. I'm sorry, what? Was there a problem? Was I aware of this? Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Now this is the time where these two don't actually really disappear. Which is why this gets so busy, because these come in and immediately leave. No, that's not right. That didn't work out. That's not right. So let's undo this. We got to here, but you are not. You are over the top. So you come underneath, over the top. It's better. Right. You're in the corner. And now we've done the glove stitch section. That could work. I've had a thought, people. If I made a picture of the triangle and broke down the sections that I would work, I could possibly have a button that I could send a poke to a program I've written, which has the parts of the triangle, not necessarily in infinite detail, but in a shaded format. And it could show you the bit that we're working on and the bits that we've done off the triangle, and repeat that 4 times around the square. Would that be helpful, interesting? Or am I just making up more work for myself? Because that can be a thing. I'm not going to pretend that I don't do that. So let's move you. See, this isn't really going to have enough room, is it? Let's keep you out for a minute. I'm going to steal you, because my other blue cloth is in use. Place you on top. And we start the pile again. You, place you up there. We rescue you because we need you. And why are you catching on this pin? That's just naughty because it will cause you to tangle. It really will. So let's make you a bit longer. You're stuck. That's in 1 minute 40. So, where are we? That wasn't too bad. It took us an hour to finish off 2 rows of rose ground and the cloth stitch section. Even though all these threads have tangled up a lot. Cheers for that, threads. If we can extract some of you out from under there. That's a bit better. There we go. Actually, ten, 9. spasm. That's not pleasant. Going to guess this stream's going to be shorter than I hoped. I was kind of hoping we could get to the bottom of this ground stick section, but I'm not sure. Not sure that's going to happen now. So yeah, not sure I can make it too much longer if I get back spasms like that. Because clearly back says, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself? Because I want to make a lit curtain. Ask the brain cells. They're the one with the idea. It's their idea to do it. I need you out the way for the minute, Guy. So I will be upfront with you. While you're all getting ads, I need to point out, do not think you are making me rich, okay? I think that to date, between, I think it's the 15th of September and today, I think it's made me about $1.10. So I apologise that obviously every 30 minutes you get 90 seconds of adverts, and all I'm getting in return for this is $1. But of course, that's because there's kind of one or two of you. If there were 10, well then I'd get 10 times that. Well, $10, I mean it's still not a lot, but $10 you can do something with. That's a coffee. Not that I drink coffee, not the point, it's maybe nearly 2 coffees. Well, if there was 100 of you, well, $100, that paid for the Steam Deck. Well, that would have paid for a Steam Deck, right? The one I've got does have some limitations, and I'm not going to pretend that it is the saviour of all time. But it very much is a blessing in disguise, because it was less than half the price of a proper Steam Deck. It doesn't quite have all the features. So, for example, I can program the buttons to do a whole lot of things. Hey Zukin, thanks for coming. It's nice to see you here. Happy me. I apologise, this is really kind of not a spectator sport. I truly struggle to find that this is a spectator sport, but I kind of want... I'm not doing this for everybody else, to an extent. I mean, obviously, by having it out there for people to be able to come and watch and see what I'm doing and to be able to ask questions, that's great. Well, it is easy if I stream when you're awake. I do stream it. I have streamed a few times this time of night and later. Obviously, the Friday afternoon ones that start kind of, 7 hours ago. You're probably not, because, I suffer the reverse because obviously you're awake later than I am, and I've got work in the morning, kind of thing. So I miss a lot of your streams for the same reason. But did I twist them? Yes, I did. So it is always easier when they're on when you can get here. That's for sure. Totally agree to that. So yes, it is. But I don't. For part of me does not think of this as a spectator sport. This is very much more for me documenting the whole process, I think. And part of me kind of says, well, if I've got to make 21 of these squares, do I really, 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 really want to document? Because it's only 3 stitches, and as all stitches are made of 2 moves... Sorry, stitches can have more than 2 moves, but they're made out of... There are 2 actions you can take. You do multiple of some backwards and forwards. So, for example, if I take... Let me move you, because you're just getting in the way at the moment. I'm working with 2 pairs of bobbins. It is common that there are always going to be 4 pairs of bobbins. Let me zoom in a bit down the bottom. Here you go. So... 4 pairs of bobbins. There is the cross. There is a twist. There is another twist. This is called half stitch. You stick a pin in it. In this case, you stick a pin in it. And you do another one. Cross. Twist. And you can do the 2 twists together. That's it. And I'm currently doing... an almighty bucket load of those. So everything is made of cross or twist, or both. So you might have multiple twists. The strong white portions here, these are called cloth stitch, which is crossed, 2 twists, cross. As I said, it is a lot of repetition, and so as a result, there is a large part of me that says watching this is enough to cure any form of insomnia, frankly. This doesn't feel right. Let me quickly look. I've got 3 pairs of bobbins there. I've missed a hole, haven't I, somewhere? No. Yes, I have screwed it up. How do I know I've screwed up? Zoom. There are no bobbins coming out of that pin. This is how I know I've screwed it up. Well, that's alright. It's not like you glue them, so we will undo, unpin, undo, unpin. And that is why it went wrong. I put a pin in too soon. So that's that. This is the next one. Why did that feel wet? Dog. I'm blaming you. Why does that feel wet? So to your point, Zukin, you said, oh, I couldn't do that. You really could. For I'm very sure you could pick up a bobbin, move it an inch either side, and put it down. That is all this takes. It does not take brain of genius. It might take the patience of Job, something I definitely don't have, for much swearing is involved. Hence this stream is not marked safe for children. I mean, it's not unsafe for children. I mean, I'm not sitting here having a, hopefully having too much of a rant. But if you'd watched the Spangled version, yeah, that was a lot more swearing than perhaps is necessary. I mean, it's the kind of thing that my father would have said, it's not necessary. I will swear, there was a glorious conversation between me and my father once. Me, my boyfriend of the time, my best mate and some... Actually, was it boyfriend at the time, or did I just go with Petey and some other... Anyway, me and one of my best friends in the world, his name's Petey. Me and Petey went to watch the touring car, which is, frankly, one of the best racing things you can get in the UK. Formula One's really cool. Touring car is a little bit more human. Anyway, we'd had to drive quite a long way up, so we were in the car. We drove up to Doncaster, I think it was, for the touring car. And we had a whale of a time, so that was me. Oh, you do? But you don't need to worry about it, because the short answer is the highest pinhole, this one, let me zoom in. If you look, the highest pinhole is this one. And you could say, well, I want to work that one. Well, you can't, because you haven't got any of the threads for it. Now, could I work this pinhole right next to the bottom here? No, because I haven't got a thread that would feed it. So realistically, even when you do lose track a bit, you can work out where you are, because there are also kind of some choices. So when I've done this section here down to this line, kind of along here, I have a choice, because I could now continue and do this cloth stitch section, which is the shaded bit, or I could come and do this cloth stitch section over here, because, well, I've got the bits to do either. Now, generally I go with the not adding bobbins until I need to, because, frankly, there's a layer of bobbins under... Well, you can't see this, but hang on, let me zoom out a bit. There are bobbins underneath here. There's bobbins underneath here, and there are bobbins on top of here. So there's 3 layers of bobbins on this side, and obviously, clearly, a pile of bobbins on this side too. So, bobbins are coming out the hoo-ha at the moment, frankly. I have far too many bobbins. We're not quite halfway down yet. This is only half the number of bobbins. Now, that is the bit that scares me, right? Too many bobbins, piles of bobbins, bobbins tangling give me anxiety. So actually, it's not the bobbins tangling that give me the anxiety. It's the undoing of the tangles that give me... It's a bit like, I do not have a fear of heights. I don't. The height itself doesn't bother me. It's not even necessarily the falling of the height that's the problem. It's the landing. It's the landing at the bottom. I mean, as a small child, I've explained a few times over the last few days, I was a skinny child. I was 5'4" and 3 stone, which is what? Under 50 pounds, right? Sure, it's... Alexa, how many pounds in a stone?
1 stone is 14 pounds.
Yeah, so it's the best part of 43 pound. I mean, it's fucking nothing. I mean, I've had dogs that weigh more than that. And I had glasses, because I've always had glasses from an early age. I got blown off a cliff. I got blown off a cliff. I wasn't even that near to the edge of the frigging cliff either, and it wasn't frankly that windy. I mean, there was no kind of like, oh my god, get away from the cliff, it's too windy. It really wasn't that windy at all. But the small gust of wind came and took me off. And now, fortunately, before you feel too alarmed, fortunately, about 10 foot down was a ledge, because in the Isle of Wight is a tiny, tiny little island. I mean, you can walk top to bottom in the day, even as a kid, right? Did that. Funnily enough, a couple of days, was it before or after falling off the cliff? At the edges, obviously the sea's washing it away. And what happens is that the sea washes it away, and because it, a bit like a bit of bad cake design, you know, for cliffs like this, this was not that level of glass. But if you think of a cliff face is never that shape. It's usually this shape with the water lapping here at the bottom, eating it away, and then the top falls down. this is kind of where we'd got to, in that while I was not at the sea, I need to say, there was land at the bottom of this cliff thing, but clearly a load of land had kind of gone shunk, and so there was some land further down. But I got blown off the top of this cliff, and 10 foot down was a ledge, which I rather fortunately landed on and clung to like my life depended on it, because, well, to be honest, I didn't want to experience how much further down the next ledge was. This was, one was enough, thanks. And of course, the teachers who were with us, because it was a school trip, oh my goodness, and all that kind of stuff. So, I was already not comfortable, because in essence I have never felt comfortable. If I feel really secure, so for example, I can look out a plane window, doesn't bother me. I can look at heights on TV, doesn't bother me, it's on the telly. Whereas I know people who get itchy feet, they want to throw up, doesn't bother me, I'm not there. I'm sitting in the same chair because I'm still comfortable, and well, the furthest I'm going to fall off is the foot off the chair. So I'm kind of okay with that, because, I'll admit, I've sat on a chair and missed. It's not your proudest moment, but it's not going to kill you. Whereas, if they show you a looking down from the top of the Eiffel Tower or something, yeah, that fall will kill you, but I'm not there. I'm sitting on my chair. It's fine. And so, as a result, I distinctly do not have a fear of heights. If I feel secure, I can look over anything. I've been on church towers and looked off the edge. On some of them, I was happy as a pig in poo. On other rooms, I feared for my life. And the simple reasoning being is there is kind of like a little parapet thing going on the top of most church towers. If the tower parapet thing was kind of knee height, yeah, I'm not happy with that. Because, well, one slight gust of wind, a trip or whatever, and I'm going straight over the top of that, splatting out down the bottom. That's not what I want to be doing. Whereas, if it's kind of waist height or above, well, it takes a lot more effort because most of your weight's in your legs. Therefore, you are reasonably safe at this point. No gust of wind is really going to blow you over. The worst that's going to happen is you lean over the edge. So I'm quite cool with that. I was very gingerly overlooking one church tower, and it had kind of the knee level kind of wall, so I was distinctly unhappy. And a friend of mine, yes, Mike, I'm talking of you, not that you probably remember me by now because it was many years ago, little bugger came up behind me, grabbing my other shoulders and rammed my top half over the edge. These do not help people. These do not help you get over your fears. These help you feel that you were very justified in all of your feelings. And so, to be honest, I do not have a fear of heights. It is not the height. It is most certainly the fall. And as my dad, it's not the fall that kills. My dad would tell you, it is not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop at the bottom. And the man has a point. You do not die, maybe except from shock, by falling 20,000 feet. That fall is not what kills you. It's the fact that you fell 20,000 feet and then hit a sudden stop on concrete that kills you. It is that kind of purpose to which my dad didn't help. But it's not the fear of the height. I mean, I know a woman who can't cope with deep water for a very similar reason. It's not that there is water, because she can swim. She can swim like a fish. But when it's really, really deep, the fact that you don't know how far down it is, what is down there, it is that I call some of these things healthy fears, right? If you are really uncomfortable around fire, well, it's kind of healthy, because, if you jumped in it and sat in it, it's not good for you. It's not going to go well. Similarly, leaping 20,000 feet onto concrete, probably not going to go so well. So again, the fear of either the height, the fall, or the sudden stop at the bottom, at that point, doesn't really matter which, it's healthy because it's stopping you doing the lemming thing and finding out what a really bad idea it is. I'm not very good in the dark. I'm better now than I was because, well, I live alone, it's my house, I've locked the doors, I've got an alarm on the doors because not long after I moved in, someone burgled lady next door. She's not next door, she's technically in another road and kind of almost another postcode, but she has her back gate's open onto this road, so she's kind of not that far away as the crow flies. In fact, I can almost see her front door from here. She got burgled not long after I moved in, and she's 90-something, right? She must have been 90 almost the year I moved in. Anyway, I think she's 97 this year. Or is it next year? Early next year? I don't actually know when her birthday is, but I think she was 96 earlier this year, so she must be 97 soon anyway. So she's not a youngster. And while they didn't do her any harm, which is a, thing to be grateful for, and to be honest, they didn't really take a lot. They found her car keys in her purse, in the sitting room. Who keeps them in their own bag and who takes their handbag in? Not that I've ever owned a handbag for more than about 6 months, but I owned one handbag. I had it for about 6 months and it wasn't really a handbag. It was more of a rucksack made of leather, at which point you couldn't really call it a handbag because, for those who are technical, it had a SCSI card, a CD drive, a DAT drive, so a SCSI DAT drive, and a pile of DAT tapes. Why? So I could nick any software I found. Irrelevant of what it was, I could back up any computer. I could basically scrounge anything that my heart designed. So I did that for about 6 months. I'm not going to pretend that was a good plan, but that was the thing I did. It was back in the days when if you could get the install media, you were pretty safe to install it. So it's been a while. But, that is like 30 years ago, so, let's put a bit of reality on that. So I carried that around everywhere I went. And it weighed about 3 stone. Seriously, this thing weighed nearly more than I did. And people would look at me funny and they go, "What's in your bag?" And I'd give it to them and they go, "Me, that's really heavy." And it's like, well, yeah. What have you got in it? Well, in the front little pouch is my wallet, because mobile phones weren't a thing then. The rest of it is, discs, floppies, the whole shebang. And it's kind of like, it's my emergency pack. It's the tools of my trade, So that was the only time I ever carried a bag. So I'm not a bag person, but to me, once you've got home, it's your home. It should be full of all your things. You shouldn't need your bag. So it seemed a bit odd that it was in a sitting room and not in the hallway or something, but they went and found it, and they got her car keys and took her car. And she never told me what happened to her car, but she had to get a replacement, so we can imagine it didn't go well. So while this house did have a burglar alarm on it, technically it still does, no one knows the code. No one knew the code. And I could get it serviced and have it reset, and, well, the service was going to cost £200, and then they could reset the code for it for another £100. And so for £300, I could have the house alarm that's built in working. Or I could put in a ring alarm, which I did, and then I can have door sensors and movement sensors, because the other one was only movement sensors, and I could put them where I wanted, I could name them, I could have them on my phone, I could set the phone, I can set the alarm if I go out and forget, I can tell what's been triggered. I've got one on my back gate so that should, ne'er-do-wells try and come through the back gate, I'll be notified. It also meant that should I need to leave it open for the gardener, I would also know if it had been triggered, and because because I have a guy who comes and does my gardening because I suck at it, and so there is this, I just had a lot more control, so I put in a ring alarm. So yeah, it was, and then of course we'd passed, the timing was perfect because I know that in the last week I had a fairly long power cut and was slightly gripey about it, quite reasonably I feel. We don't get that many power cuts, but we had a power cut very shortly after Merkel got burgled, and I was home, but what I did was while it was off, because obviously the alarm was going off because, well, it's been cut, oh my god, panic, right? So the alarm bell was supposed to be going off, but it actually sounded more like some deranged budgie because it was really, really quiet, and all you could kind of hear was... It wasn't really making a noise, because my neighbour went, what's that noise? And because we were chatting, because, we were bored, there was no power. And I kind of went, you know what? I don't really know. And we worked out after moving around and looking about a bit that it was my alarm bell. So instead of actually being useful and making a noise, although, let's truly be honest, nobody loves the guy whose alarm sounds for like 20 minutes after the power goes off or the power comes back, or a bit of both, right? That doesn't feel right. I didn't twist those. Tragedy. Shit bags. Right. Guess what, people? We're going to rewind history. Coles. I didn't twist the pair at the beginning. And I can't frig that. You can't, without going back to the beginning, twisting them and doing it all again. So, we're going to do just that. We're going to undo it. It's only one row, after all. Because, of course, we want this to be as perfect as we can get. Otherwise, we will see it forever, evermore, amen. So, there are still likely to be mistakes, but we can't knowingly leave one, because, well, there'll be all the ones that we didn't knowingly find, so let's not add to the pile if we can help it. We are trying really hard not to make errors. Therefore, should we discover that we have, we will be fixing them. And before you ask, how do I know which ones to undo and how to undo them? Well, if you do cross-twist to do the work, so if you did cross-twist to make it, you untwist, uncross to undo it. Of course, this is when you discover you make other mistakes, but, this can be a thing. I'd already untwisted you. It doesn't take too long, so it's not so bad. Nearly there. And... go. See, doesn't take that long to redo. And now we try again. Oh, I really do have backache. Oh, possibly from doing a bit too much of this and not enough slouching and generally lounging around. I'll have to do a bit of smooching and lounging around during work tomorrow. I can sit at I can adjust my posture a lot better for work. Because I'm not on camera, so I don't have to be. Check you crossed your things before we go to no. Yeah, you did. Right. So yes, but as you can see, we are now stonking our way down here, and I definitely could be stealing pins from the back again, because we have worked our way down, and now we have a backlog of pins. It's not straight again. It's because I moved the camera. It really doesn't help that I moved the camera, and so it's the camera that's not straight. There you go. I mean, much as I can move the cushion around, because I have been moving the camera backwards and forwards to point at different bits, it is my own fault. I'm just really pleased you've made it to one of my streams, Soup, and I feel like I've made the big time. Plus, of course, you now get to hear what I sound like, so there you go. You can tell Sean you've been. Rub it in. By the way, do get him to plan a Monsters and Memory playtest during December, because I'm off from the 5th of December to the 2nd of January, and I can be awake. You'll also discover that I get up late when I'm on holiday. I do at the weekend anyway, but I get up later, and so I become a bit of a night owl, and as a result then I'll probably be streaming later, because, well, I might not get up till 1 in the afternoon, because I can. So it can be a thing. But I can also, of course, Monsters and Memory if I'm not having to go to work, so I don't have to worry about, oh, I go to bed. No, I'll go to bed when I'm damn well ready, so. Two more rows, and then I think we will call it a day, so that I can go and get some painkillers. But it's going to take a little bit to do 2 rows, but not a huge amount. Let's check. Cross those first. I've always explained it's not that I'm not a morning person. When I work, so for example, tomorrow morning, I will be up nice and early. Well, early. Nice doesn't really come into it. I will be up really early because I'm at work by like 7:30. It's not because I want to be up at 7:30. Dear God, no. No. It's so that I can do my working day and still and then have a chunk of time in the evening. And the earlier I do that, and the earlier I can leave work, the bigger the chunk of time in the evening. So as a result, by 4 o'clock, I'm done. The day is mine. So especially in winter, when it's like pitch black from, till mid-morning and mid-afternoon. But in that transitional period, I get to avoid traffic because I'm kind of an hour before everybody else. I get home and I can do things and I can have like the evening to actually do something. Whereas if you leave at 5:30, you're stuck in more traffic. By the time you get home, it's even later. And, well, it's already, and you started an hour later. So, but, quite chances are, by the time you've sat down, counted your fingers and toes, and, thought about life for 10 seconds, it's nearly 8 o'clock. Whereas because I started an hour earlier, and I didn't get stuck in traffic, and I could have eaten my dinner before 6 o'clock, and, well, by 6 o'clock, I'm ready to be doing something. And so I mean it in one sense and not another, which is I do my work, I get to work, so I get it out the way, because it is a designated part of my time. It's like eating the disgusting thing on your plate so you can now get on and enjoy the rest of it. It's not that I hate my job. I don't. I might not like some other people, but, can't have everything. But the truth of it is it means that I get to organise my time much more the way I want. And so I have always been a early to work person because I get my duties over with. I will stay at work. I've stayed at work till, well, I've done all-nighters. I've gone in at 7:30 in the morning and I've left at like 6 the following day. But, and that's even for my current employer. So it's a reasonably recent thing. But you do sit there and it is... So for me, it's not that I'm a morning person. I'm just not... I am more of a night person. I would consider myself, and have always described myself this, I am not domesticated. I am the last person who wants to spend any time tidying my house, doing my washing, cleaning things, doing, well, frankly, anything adulty. I am not that kind of person. I'm not even house proud, because as long as it doesn't bother me, and to be honest, it's quite scary what doesn't bother me. But it is I am not, I do not want to be spending 6 hours on a Saturday cleaning my house. Now I know someone who does, and good luck to them. But it's not how I want to spend those 6 hours, so I don't. There are reasons I live alone, and perhaps this is one of them. But it means I get to do with my time what I want to do. And so, if I want to stay up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. If I don't want to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't. If I want to eat cake for breakfast, I'll have cake for breakfast. If I want to have cereal for midnight snack, well, it's cereal for midnight snack. There is no one to judge. There is no one to please. There is no one who will be going, can't you keep the noise down? I've got work in the morning. None of this kind of stuff because, well, I live alone. And the dogs are quite easy to please. On top of that, the only time, and I mean this very sincerely, I am domesticated usually occurs between the hours of 2 and 3 in the morning. And my brain cell, which we have already established, is quite annoying. Its ideas of what should happen and reality, such as making a net curtain, is not necessarily one of its best ideas, but, it's not going to hurt anybody, so we let it. My brain does it'll be Saturday night, it'll be 2 o'clock in the morning, and instead of going to bed, my brain goes, can we paint the kitchen? Brain, why did you come up with that? I've decided I want to paint the kitchen. Now, usually, I do have to have the paint in to do it, and it will be that I was considering painting the kitchen, and I've got a tin of paint, and all of that. So, to an extent, it's not entirely out the blue. But at the same time, I decorated my last house twice while I lived there. First time was while I was still married, and I decorated every single room by myself, no assistance from the other half, and all I asked them to do was not let the dogs in. That was all they had to achieve. I painted the entire house. And in fact, I had to paint the bathroom twice. Because I picked a blue that I thought was going to be nice. Kind of... Well, I thought it was that kind of blue. Well, it was in the end, but sorry. The first thing I bought was supposed to be fudge. Now, fudge and toffee have a very similar colour, although fudge is a little bit more paler as it looks like it's got flour, but it's mainly sugar. In it, I painted it fudge. Tango orange. That was the colour this year. Now, the tester pot had looked alright, but of course, as we all know, colours can vary depending on the colour of the background. And it can make things look whiter, darker, funnier coloured. The whole kind of, is this dress green and blue, or is it, white and black, or orange and, all of those kind of shenanigans that have gone around the internet. And the reason a lot of that is true is because it is not always, you can tell maybe the depth of the colour, but the actual tone can vary depending on the things around it. It's like a good navy blue looks black until you put black next to it and you realise it's blue. I did the tester pot, it looked fine. I painted the walls tango orange with grey tiles. This was not grey and pink, more accurately, tiles. This was not a look. This was not a look that I wanted to live with, and pretty much the paint hadn't even dried, and I hated it. So I was back at the paint shop and I picked the blue, roughly the colour of the blue I just showed you. So I had to paint it again because, well, I'm not living with that. And for some reason, bathrooms here in the UK are commonly blue. It just seems to be a thing. And to be honest, if I could have put some white splodges on it without my glasses on, it would have looked like sky. It would have been good. I haven't painted this house yet, and it's probably due because I've been in here nearly 6 years now. Actually, I think I have been here 6 years now. It's got to be close. So it's probably due for a paint. But to be honest, because I don't smoke, because I don't do a lot of things, because I haven't really moved around a lot, the walls are in really good nick. They're in exactly the same nick as they were the day I moved in. They don't look to have deteriorated, so I'm not in no rush to change it. However, I probably should paint it at some point. But what will happen is I will get the urge to paint my house at, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that will be a thing. Oh, and I do it all with a 3-inch paintbrush. I don't do rollers and stuff. I have to do it with a 3-inch paintbrush. So, and I don't use ladders. It is an interesting thing to behold, to be honest. But it's kind of what I'm used to, I guess. Mainly because trying to fit around furniture and only move the furniture enough so that you can get in there and all that kind of stuff. The less you have to do with it, the better. The less you splatter, the better. So a 3-inch paintbrush, you don't tend to splatter very much. So me and my 3-inch paintbrush can go a long way. I did my whole house with a 3-inch paintbrush. Seriously. One 3-inch paintbrush. Paint. You'd be surprised how quick it goes, actually. Like everything, when you get in the swing, I did my entire 4-bedroom house with a 3-inch paintbrush. And as I said, I had to do the bathroom twice. So, generally an hour and a bit per room. Most of the rooms got away with one coat. As I say, the bathroom had to be done at least twice. One room had to be done twice, but I did the whole house in a week. Seriously, I did the whole house in a week. I had to do the hallway twice because the colour I was putting on was dark and it looked patchy unless you did a second colour. But because the colour change between the old and the new was about the same, literally, it took me a week, and that included moving all the furniture by myself, swearing a lot, buying the paint, buying the new paint. Seriously. Yeah, as I said, at some point I'll have to do this place. This place is bigger, though. It's a 4-bedroom house. So on paper, it doesn't sound any bigger. But in terms of usable space, oh my God. So, how do I explain this? The downstairs of my old house was a reasonable size. I haven't got the exact measurements to hand. But let's say the downstairs was, I don't know, I'm going to look at a wall. I think that wall's 18 metres. So I'm going to say the downstairs was like 18 metres square. The problem was, half my downstairs of the old house was the garage, with, that you couldn't get in from inside the house. The hallway was the width of a small public cubicle for a toilet, i.e. if you put your elbows out, you'd bang them on the walls. And was dark as a badger's butthole because there was no natural light that could get to it at any point of day, no matter what you did. Because the front door, obviously, which opened out onto the outside world, was under a porch. And the only time the light that would have got under it first thing in the morning was blocked by a house in front of you because we were shoved in a corner. We were like an free extra, we can fit a house in there, shove, right? So the front door didn't actually provide any light because it was kind of a full height solid door anyway, but even if the door was open, it was indirect light, not direct light. There were no windows because the right hand side, well, if you're looking out the front door, the whole right hand side was the garage, and there was no door stroke, window stroke, anything into it from the house, so it was just a solid wall. The sitting room would be on your left, but the only windows were in front of where the front door was, so it kind of had a lump on the front, and the windows were in there, so it was only indirect light that ever made it to the back of the room, if in fact it even made that far, which it usually didn't. And so, of course, was not going to bounce 90 degrees around the doorway to get into the hall. There was a stairway in the middle of the house. Again, absolutely zero natural lighting could get to it, even if you paid it money, because it was literally in the middle of the house. And it was surrounded by a room on all 4 sides. It was a kind of a spirally job, but there were rooms on all 4 sides. The landing, again, did not have any windows because rooms on all sides. The front 2 bedrooms, you probably could have put a double bed in both of them, but you wouldn't have been able to walk around it. You'd have to have just crawled on it, and then there would have been a bit of gap at the end to shut the door. They were tiny. They were not much bigger than a bed, right? There was a bathroom, which, of course, as I said, I had to paint it twice. The 2 back rooms were bigger, but again, I put a queen-size bed in it, and there probably wasn't 12 inches either side. I mean, it fitted, but only just, right? So both bedrooms were not big. And with the bed in, the master bedroom, which had an ensuite on the end, but the master bedroom did not have anywhere you could put a chest of drawers, for example, for your socks and stuff, because there were 2 built-in wardrobes with 0 shelves, and that was it. Because the bed filled the room, the only space was at the end of the bed, and that's where the wardrobes were. So it was a very bad design. The other bedroom was marginally smaller, but not a lot. Didn't have a built-in wardrobe, but had been supplied with kind of a desk and a wardrobe already there. Let's leave it that. You could have taken them out. They're not fastened in. And it was slightly wider, so you could actually get a chest of drawers in there, which I did. So that was where the chest of drawers were. But that was the whole house. Downstairs, you had the sitting room, which poked out the front, which went as far as the stairwell. Under the stairwell, such as it was a toilet and sink. Yeah, good luck with that. You pretty much walked in, bang your head. And a lot of space that was there was not in use by the toilet. There was a lot of wasted space because behind the toilet, the toilet actually finished where the near side of the spiral staircase was. So it didn't recede under the stairs. It was in just kind of that. If you had a spiral stairs that went up, round 180 degrees and kind of back on itself, which this did, onto the landing, it was in the left-hand side bit under that. But it stopped where the stairs kind of met it. So there was an awful lot of space back there that no one could get in because it was like no man's land between rooms. There was all the space that would have been under the stairs. Was that a cupboard? No, it was not. Which was stupid, in my humble opinion, because that would have made a great cupboard space for shoes and random shit you wanted to keep indoors but didn't really know what to do with. No. Didn't have none of that. Behind the toilet and kind of running parallel to the stairs, on the downstairs, was a utility room. Again, not much bigger than a public toilet cubicle because in walking space, because there was a countertop for a fridge and a washing machine, and a sink, and the back door was in it, so there were like 2 spots, and the boiler for heating the house. So realistically, there were 2. If you think of it like a box of 6 eggs, the 3 on the right hand side were taken by fridge, sink, washing machine at the back. The top left one was the boiler. The middle left one was where the back door was, and the bottom left one was where you opened the door to go in the room. So it was not a lot of room in there. And then there was the kitchen, which wasn't a bad sized kitchen, but you couldn't put a table in it, not even a small one. It did have a fair few cupboards though. It's the only good thing about it is it did have a fair few cupboards. Whereas this house, I can tell you now that my old dining room, which was behind the garage, so it was quite small, my old dining room and my sitting room would fit in this sitting room. The kitchen was about not much bigger. The kitchen was about the same size as the dining room, so there was room. Well, actually, technically it was bigger, but anyway, because the garage jutted into the dining room by quite a door length or so. But the kitchen, from looking from the back of the house, the kitchen was on the left, dining room was on the right. If you took all 3 of those areas and basically if you took the whole ground floor that you could use, it would fit in this sitting room and my downstairs toilet, which is just a toilet and a sink, and my little study, which is about 8 foot square, right? I've got a little study. My dining room has got to be 8 or 9 metres square. My kitchen is the same size. I then have a utility room. As I mentioned, I've got a study. I've then got double garage on the end, which I can get to from the house, right? So clearly, now the bedrooms do not extend over the garage, so to make that clear. But I've then got 4 bedrooms. My landing has a single window, for which this net curtain is going to be one of them, and 2 other windows. There are 2 different window sections on my landing. Under the stairs here is empty. Well, actually, it's full of cardboard boxes, but we won't talk about that. But I've got space under the stairs here. The space in this house is really well used. Upstairs, I've got 2 cupboards. My old house didn't really have a cupboard. I've got 2 cupboards. One's got a boiler in it, granted, but one is purely empty. It's got shelving in to put, clothes and stuff to air, but it's empty. You could take the front bedroom and make that a wardrobe because it's big enough. It's quite big. I've got a back bedroom with built-in wardrobes and an ensuite bathroom. Then there's my bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. There's another bedroom. I've got bedrooms coming out the wazoo. I really do. So I've got 4 toilets in this house and only me. So It is a thing. It is definitely a thing. And so the whole kind of painting this house would take a lot longer. I'm under no illusion for that. And I think that's one of the other differences is your American houses are usually much more bigger and airier, and whereas ours, especially the modern houses, are shit. Anyway, I'm going to close the stream because in 2 minutes there's ads. But we have completed today all of this. We have got to the next stage of life. I will have to wind some more bobbins. But we've got the little cloth stitch. Let me zoom you in a bit. So, under here, there is a cloth stitch. Under this bit here, there's a cloth stitch bit that we've got to do. There's the cloth stitch bit there. Then we can do, well, the next sections. We have done a reasonable chunk of our I am probably living in a bigger chunk of space, to be honest. It is quite a reasonable size. I've got some pictures. I'll send you some pictures. But that's what we've done today. We have made all of that. So we're on a bit of a roll. I mean, I think that took me 4 days last time. So clearly the spangles, or lack of spangles, are definitely helping. But this is where we're at. So I shall speak to you probably tomorrow, with any luck. So, because as I say, I do want to get on with this. I am kind of excited to do this. So I shall see you tomorrow. And if you want to know when I go live, just remember to follow. This will be on YouTube shortly. I shall speak to you soon. Bye.